All right, welcome everybody to the weekly marketing call, I guess, or the bi-weekly as I see it. So this is, I think, my first time joining. So my name is Victor. I'm a product manager here at GitLab. Erica has kindly asked me to chat a little bit about portfolio management features and just have a general discussion here. I think she called it a training. I like to think of it more as a demo and a two-way conversation. So what I'm going to do is just quickly screen share some ideas, some existing features, some things that we're doing in the future. But please just interrupt me, just cut me off as it's somewhere in our handbook that we should do, and ask questions or say something is not a good idea, things like that. And I'd rather we have a discussion because everybody can click on the links themselves offline that I've provided in the agenda. So my name is Victor. I'm a product manager at GitLab. If you click on the first link there, the products categories page, it has a good number of information there. In particular, you can find different product areas within GitLab, and you can see the associated product manager who is responsible. So if you ever have a question about a feature, whether you're using the feature yourselves day to day, or you want to know how to market a feature, you have an idea, you want to do a blog post on and so forth, that's a great place to figure out who's responsible or what area as a first pass. And then the next thing you can do is go into Slack, the product channel, and mention that particular product manager to get more information. And then as we've been learning from the team call, we should avoid DMs as much as possible. And one point I wanted to add to that, the whole DM is not helpful thing, is not only is it not transparent, and the key about everybody can contribute is true and beneficial and strategic for GitLab, but it's actually very practical for a need that you have. So what I tell a lot of folks, if they do me, I say, it's not that I don't want to answer you, but if I'm not here, if I'm on vacation, or maybe you just want to answer right away and I'm sleeping, it's actually better to mention me in a particular public channel. But chances are my boss, who's 5 hours ahead of me, can answer your question, or maybe another product manager who's several hours ahead of me can answer as well. So it's just faster and more practical in that sense. So again, it's nothing personal when I tell people to not DM me. So jumping to letter B in the agenda, design philosophy, flexible to versus narrow use cases. If you click on that link there, it's some high-level information of what GitLab's vision and mission is. And so why I think that's relevant for today is because we're creating all these awesome features for project management, and it's going to be used by our customers. It's going to be used by ourselves in the product teams, the design teams, and the engineering teams. But ultimately, our goal as GitLab is to have all digital content read-write. And so that means, can folks use GitLab outside of just that narrow confines of developing software? And so we do that when we do blog posts and we do content marketing, when we update our website. A lot of that is not what we call quote unquote software engineering day to day, but there's a lot more digital content and processes and work that we do day to day. So at GitLab, our marketing teams use this, our support teams, many non-engineering product teams are using GitLab already, but that's not very unlikely the case for our customers, and we want our customers to do that eventually, and it's going to be really hard to do that without without ourselves first adopting that. So that's why when Erica said like, oh, can you do a demo or a training here for the marketing folks, I said yes, please, because we need folks like yourselves giving us feedback. And another thing I like to tell a lot of our folks, GitLabbers in particular, when they request a feature, I said yes, please tell us the features you want, because it's a low risk, high reward thing. If we make an issue, if we do a feature that we use ourselves, it's low risk because we're guaranteed somebody's going to use it, so it's bound to be a great idea. And it's high reward because somebody's benefiting us. Yes, maybe it's not going to bring in a new deal, but ultimately there's productivity gains within GitLab, and that is strategic for the organization. So I get the benefit, the curse and benefit of working on project management features, a lot of features in GitLab, because a lot of my product area is used by all GitLabbers. And so that's benefit because I get feedback right away. It's a curse because a lot of people get angry at me, but please continue getting angry at me that your favorite feature is not being worked on yet, because we need that constant feedback. So I wanted to talk really quickly about some existing upcoming features. The issue board is something that we're really doing a lot of great innovation on, in my opinion, because we're leveraging the board to do so many things. And so that comes back to letter B, flexible tool versus narrow use cases. So some of the use cases that I'm going to go through really quickly now, if you look at different tools, they have very specific features or UI to do those things. And how we innovate at GitLab is we provide a tool, a single application that can do many, many use cases. And so the strategy here is that we are creating less features, but that cover more use case and solve more solutions. So that's the strategy. So for example, workflow tracking, DI, workflow tracking, that's your typical agile board use case, your issues going from in development, in UAT, in QA, and so forth. Double I planning with different categories, that's just a byproduct of how we created issue boards for workflow tracking, not because we use labels for workflow stages. Now you can have just regular planning. So if you have lists with different types of labels, you can do that. So that's a great thing. And for, so I'm going to share my screen really quickly here. For, because I'm going to start showing you some awesome things. For team visibility, that's something that we just shipped. So let me start closing these windows here, or tabs. So this is an example of, a team board. And so we actually don't have a team board. And so we say, oh, should we create the concept of a team board? And no, that's again, too narrow of a use case. So we'll just create a assignee list. And so people can create a team board if they want. I've seen, I think in the marketing, I think one of your boards have both assignee list and label list, and that's great. Use it the way that you need to use it. And so for this example here, the platform backend team, the engineering manager, individual contributors, they can quickly see what if I'm James, I know what I'm responsible for, or if I'm James L, I know what James E is responsible for, but if I'm James E, I can also see what James L is responsible for, and also Francisco. And so right away, we've invented team management just by adding one list. And so I'm really excited that, again, we're using a board yet in a different way. What we're working on right now in 11.2 is yet another type of list, a milestone list. So you have 11.0 as a list, 11.1, 11.2. And so then as you're doing milestone planning, you can drag issues across milestones right away. And you can see how many issues, how much weight belongs to a single milestone, and you can drag them over one by one. If a work did not get completed in a previous milestone, you can drag it over. So example, in Jira, they have a dedicated view, a vertical view where you drag issues down instead of horizontally. That's a great UI. It's something that we might do in the future. I'm not saying that's a poor feature. But with GitLab, instead of spending 3 months just to present something new and introduce new complexity, what we did is we just took something existing and then we made it more powerful. So that's issue board assignee lists, and I think that's what I'm calling the fourth way of, milestone list, and that's the fourth way we're using boards. So to me, that's very exciting. Burn downs and analytics. So burn down charts are something that we've had in GitLab for a while, and so this is something again that software teams traditionally use. Again, as I said earlier, we want to take these lessons and these processes and see how the other industries or departments can use them. And let's not even say industries, just the other departments, and how we want to track work, quote unquote, burning down. And so this has been great. A lot of our customers have been using it, but unfortunately, we haven't been using this view a lot. And so that's a problem. And so we're working really hard to make this usable for ourselves. And so the idea here is that the reason we're not using it, or in particular the product teams and engineering teams are not using it, is because our teams are not scoped to one milestone. Yes, we standardize on one milestone, 11.2, but the discussion team, excuse me, the platform team, they all share this milestone. And so it doesn't make sense that they're all looking at this burn down chart. And so one thing that we've thought about in the past, can we just filter this burn down chart by label? And then the answer is yes. And so initially we thought, let's do that. Let's build this in here. So that was a consideration, but then we thought, well, what's a better way to do that? What's a better way to do project management in the context of teams? And so Again, we went back to the board because that has emerged as a innovation space for team workflows and team use cases inside GitLab. And so the next feature that we're going to be working on, which I'm really, really excited about, is having the burn down chart inside the board itself. So if you look at this mockup, it doesn't look really spectacular. It's just a regular burn down chart. But what you'll notice in the Chrome, at least, is that it's actually inside the board here. So the idea is that you're already using a board as a team. So whether you're a backend team at GitLab, whether you're a marketing team that's responsible, or you're a crew, like within the marketing department at GitLab, maybe you're responsible for that particular area and there's a 3-person team doing a specific task, and then you have a board just for yourself, and you want to see those issues burning down. So you've already created a board, maybe you have a workflow, maybe it's planning, but you've already clicked the edit button and scoped down your particular milestone, issue labels, and so on and so forth. So we've applied, or the design is that we're taking that scope and let's just apply it automatically to the burn down chart. So you click on the burn down chart here, and then you see the burn down, and the scope is automatically applied. So you don't need to go to a different UI to look at the burn down chart. So that's something that I'm really excited about that we're hoping to ship probably in the next couple of months. So that's burn down charts and boards. Analytics is an area inside GitLab that we've been working very hard over the years, I would say, at GitLab. So we have things like cycle analytics, contribution analytics, DevOps score, as we're calling it now, before it was ComDev index. But we're embarking on a new area called value stream analytics, or at least that's what the industry is calling it, what folks like Forrester have been telling us, that it's a mature market and we need to get into. So the idea here with value stream analytics is something that we've known at GitLab and we've innovated on already for a long time, namely from idea to production or complete DevOps lifecycle. As your idea is early on in the ideation stage, along the way it becomes requirements, mock-ups, specifications, and it turns into code, and then the code is reviewed, and then it's QA'd, and then it's reviewed by product teams, other stakeholders, and then it's shipped to maybe staging into production, and so on and so forth. So the complete DevOps lifecycle. Excuse me. And so the idea here, so I think we have a question, so please just interrupt. Yeah, thank you, Elsie. And you can just say you love this and interrupt me.
Oh, I'll speak next time.
Save me a click, Elsie. So the idea here with the life cycle is we want to know the time. So we've been innovating a lot, and if you look at cycle analytics, some of our features, we've been saying let's figure out the time it gets you from idea to production. And so the idea with some of the value stream analytics is, can we get more insight? Can we know the time from idea to production? But can we also know the time it takes you for a QA team to finish this issue? Let us know the idea, the stage of development or specifications, or maybe in some of these organizations you need to spend like 3 months doing, auditing or of the specs. The technical architecture needs to be reviewed by the enterprise architect for a variety of reasons, and you want to quantify all that in terms of time, at least. And then is there overlap? Can we speed things up? What is the blockers? You've done things, for the past 10 months. What is the low-hanging fruit of things that we can improve? What are some of the things that the legal team is saying we have to spend this time anyways, so we can't short-circuit that time? So what are some of the things that GitLab can equip our customers to help with this? And so in talking with some of our product marketing folks, some of you folks on the call, some Forrester, some of our customers, we've come up with some initial design concepts, and we're working really hard actually in this iteration to lay some of the technical groundwork, and we hope to actually ship something in 11.3, our first iteration of this. So I'm really excited. So I'll show you some initial ideas here. So the idea, for example, in this particular mockup, it says that for a very simple, 4-stage, DevOps lifecycle, as we might call it, a customer might have these 4 stages, and within the month of February, on the average, this stage took 5 days, this stage took 6 days, and in total, you took 33 days. Over time, you can see that, in this past half year, you've improved significantly. You can see you can even see the relative proportions where you've improved. So right away, this is a very valuable view of what time is taking. And what's interesting with this as well, and something that is new to GitLab, say compared to cycle analytics and some of the previous work we've done, is that this is totally customizable. The idea here, the innovation here is that we've taken our workflow issue board and you've already determined what stages you want, and you click a button and you get a UI similar to this, and it tells you what the stages you already care about, the relative times and ratios, and how you can do more. So just with this concept and just with these basic building blocks, you can dig deeper. So let me finish up with this issue, and then I'll look at the chat again. And so this is another similar view. And so you can see here, I've just graphed it a sort of a different way, flipped the X and Y axes. And I've also segregated or separated two sets of labels. So from here, you can see this top line is the useful work, and this is the bottom line is the wasteful work. So say your QA team went off to a offsite summit for 2 weeks, and they totally didn't sync up with the rest of the organization. So that's not a good thing. And there was poor planning. And then so the engineering manager, the director can look at this after the fact and say, oh, why do we have this anomaly, and go back and adjust that after the fact. So that's a great thing. So again, this is something that Forrester have told us that the industry is looking forward to, and something that we've verified when we talk to our customers that they're interested in. Just seeing that separation of useful work versus what they're calling waste. And so something that we can do with GitLab. And this is just the same thing, but stacked together. And so you can see the relative ratios. And then this is probably my favorite one here, which is allows you to drill down. And so the previous screen showed you the relative proportions. And so this will show you, say now that you've identified QA as a problem. So let's drill down just to the QA stage. So this view is just going to show me the QA times. And instead of showing just the average, which is this purple line chart within these months, let's actually graph all the issues that occurred in the month of January, February, and March. And let's look at their actual times on this y-axis. So this one actually be average time will be the purple, but these are the actual times. So now you can see the average. At a glance, you can see visually the distribution. And so you can see, in the month of February, everything is concentrated around the average. That's good, low uncertainty. In March, you can see, wow, there's 3 outliers. What happened here? And so if you're concerned about this as an engineering manager, or maybe you're a director, and you're in charge of 3 teams, and so any of these can be scoped to any granularity, teams, number of issues, and so forth. Let's say you're the engineering manager, and you want to really know what happened with these 3 issues. Why there's 3 outliers? You take your mouse, you just click on that button, or you mouse over it, and you see the issue. You click on it, and you go to the issue itself, and you can see through the comments. You click on the merge request, you can see what went wrong. So this is back to the power. So it sounds like I'm selling GitLab to GitLabbers, but GitLab is the single application. We have the entire stack. We have the entire application. Everything is integrated. So as we build analytics, we're cheating. We have everything. We have all the information. So I can mouse over the issue, and I can go directly and find out what's wrong.
And Victor, I just have to say, I love this. I am jealous of Cindy, who is doing the 11.3 release post.
Okay.
we'll get to write about this, because this is just really cool.
Right. Definitely, William. So yeah, no, that's precisely right. So 11.3, I don't think we can get this entire screen, but I at least want to get the black dots. If maybe the purple line, getting this might be a little bit hard, but at GitLab, we move really, really quickly, and I really want to get something on the screen into GitLab. So that's exciting. The rest, I don't want to take too much time. I already took 20 minutes. So subgroups, list milestones, and labels. These are the bread and butter, the basic concepts of GitLab, and we continue to use them. And so subgroups is something that customers have been asking for. And in terms of project management, just that additional structure is super important. So do read up on the docs and look at relevant issues, but I don't want to spend too much time there. Multiple milestones per issue, again, that's something that customers have been asking for. And it's basically a blind spot for GitLab, because our milestones and our releases, they're the same thing. 11.2 is an iteration that we work on GitLab for the month, but it's also the release. And so for some customers, they might work on 5 releases. 5 iterations worth of work and then release it all at once. So they want a separate field to do that. And so from a project management perspective, that makes a lot of sense. It's very critical, something that we want. Portfolio management is a brand new area that we worked on pretty much more than half a year now. We launched our first iteration of epics and roadmaps, or I think just epics back, I think in November or October of last year. And so we've been moving really, really quickly. And I'm really excited because things have just gelled together and really, as we've developed it, as we've been using the features inside the product teams and the engineering teams, we see how these things come together. And our customers are saying, oh, this is pretty awesome, I want this. And with the other ultimate and gold offerings, they're starting to pick up this work. So it's really strategic for us to use it. And then once we have that level of feature and functionality, our customers are using it. And so the idea here is that we started first when we developed this feature, top-down planning and tracking and creating epics and roadmaps. And it wasn't the best of idea because we weren't really focused on our own use cases, but that's a different story I don't have time to get into. But the idea with epics and roadmaps, or epics in general, epics are for, if you look at epics right now, you can assign a start date and an end date and assign issues to the epic. Issues and milestones are separate, and then there's a connection that I just mentioned. But if you look at epics, there's no milestone assigned to an epic, and you might think that's weird. And so there's a little bit, there's purpose to that. So if you look at this screen here, you can see that as a product manager, these are the epics I'm responsible for. But a lot of these far off epics in the future, I don't actually know what issues are going to be part of them. I know just a general idea, and I know I want to start working on them in 2019 Q3, really far away. And I don't know if customers care about them. I don't know if they're good ideas, but they're strategic. I've talked to analysts, I've talked to customers that they want this general concept. So this is top-down planning. These big ideas far into the future I care about. And so at GitLab, we don't have the tools, and we don't actually do that very well just yet. But epics and roadmaps right now can actually support that use case fairly well. You have an object called an epic, you have a start date and end date, and you just plop it on, and away you go. What we can't do right now, and what I'm anxious to be able to ship in 11.2, is bottoms-up planning. So bottoms-up planning here, what that means is that, again, with this view, with exactly the same view, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, but now it's not far off in the future, but it's, say, this epic that we're working on right now, and we're actually going to be done. And so with this epic, there's probably 10 issues assigned to this epic. There's probably 5, I think. And the issues have milestones associated with them already. So I actually don't want to set a start date and end date, or actually I want to replace the originally start date and end date that is set half a year ago with the ones that are automatically inherited by the issue milestones themselves. And so that's exactly what we're building in 11.2. And that's exactly what our product folks have been asking for, because we do a lot more bottoms-up planning at GitLab versus top-down planning. And so I'm really excited because I'm pretty confident that we'll be using a lot more epics and roadmaps once this feature ships. And namely, once you see this roadmap, you will be able to say, for a given epic, I want to use the automatic inherit milestone start and end date mode versus the far off into the future top-down. I don't know what issue, but I know the approximate start date and end date of that epic mode. And so these are 2 separate modes that will be independently set per epic. So that's what I want to differentiate between top-down and bottoms-up. And finally, this is really far off into the future, but something I'm uber excited about. Board list capacity planning, and roadmap. Something we don't do at GitLab, even on the product teams, but something that we're ramping up with, engineering, management becoming a thing with director level, and just more engineering being more of a discipline at GitLab. And so the idea with board list capacity here is that now you can set actually a capacity per list. So what I showed you earlier with the milestone list, you can actually set a capacity per list. And so engineering managers can go there and set a number. And so this might seem like pretty trivial. Okay, you just add a number, that's not much. But it turns out this, if you think about it long enough, and I don't want to take more time, but this will, and I've talked to some engineering managers, and they would find this useful. And at a glance, you would be able to see, okay, in the 11.3 milestone, I have space for 50 weight, but I've assigned 120 weight. That's too much. What can we do? And everybody has visibility to that. Taking the same exact concept, applying it to the roadmap view. I think I really love this idea. I showed this to a couple of folks who are excited about this. Can we do the same thing with capacity on the roadmap view? Probably. I don't know how that would look. That would be really confusing. The first innovation here is that we're just going to sum up the weights of the capacity, sorry, of the issues. So take a given epoch here from July to December, divide it uniformly, say that there's 10 issues, the sum of the weights is 100 divided by 5 months, it's going to be 20 each. And so it's going to be 20 here, 20 here, 20 here, 20 here, and then add up all the ones vertically and you get a graph and you get a number here. So boom, right away, you're looking at the roadmap view and you can, product managers like me is uber ambitious and say, I want everything to be done in Q3 of 2018. And then, Sean, my counterpart on the backend engineering side says, no, Victor, you're crazy because I've already estimated all these issues and weights, and this is like 300, and we only ship like 50 per month. And so this would be super useful for him, super useful for me, super useful for his manager, for Sid, for Eric, for Yo, for Mark, and the Xener executive team, because they can see really far into the future. They can see a graph like this, and they can see, oh, this is really, really important. I want this. I can't get it. Let's hire more people. So those conversations, I'm really excited that we can start having with a view like this. So thank you for entertaining me for 26 minutes. That's awesome. That's cool. Okay. Yeah, great. So sorry, Erica, I didn't know how much time I was allotted. I wanted to finish like in 15 minutes, but I went way over. But so I'll take questions, or somebody can cut me off and tell me to run away so you can talk about other topics, but please shoot questions.
Question, Victor. So it seems like the
Yes.
Epic, because right now I'm using, like, I think the marketing team is using issues, like we have meta issues to kind of do an overview of the rest of the smaller issues, kind of like subtasks. So would that Epic be kind of a replacement of that like meta issue? So it's easy to look at the hierarchy of the issues.
Yes, Agnes, that's one of the uses we wanted to do with epics, and so there's the answer is yes and no. So from a design perspective, that's where we're heading toward, where an epic is a collection of issues that are related in feature and content, but not necessarily worked on like, in the next 5 milestones together in succession. So they're related together in feature. So notice we haven't associated a milestone or even a group of milestones per epic. We might do it in the future, but it's not something we're doing right now. So yes, that's the intention. And from a use case perspective, it's just a nice placeholder. It's something that wraps on top. But from a use case perspective, as you're using it now, what I would recommend is look at what you need and say, like, oh, Epics doesn't support that yet, and I can't use it. And then, what I would love you for folks to do is to take the jump and start using Epics and then start creating issues and features and saying, I really need this feature, Victor. Can you please create it? So that's what we want to do. So usually when people ask me, should I use Epic for this? I say, yes, please, but I don't want to make your life terrible at the same time. So the idea is, yes, you should, but realistically, it's the same reason when people say, like, I'm still using Google Sheets to do planning. I'm never going to yell at somebody that they're doing that. I just sulk in a corner when somebody's using Google Sheets to do planning because I haven't solved their use cases yet. So when that happens, I say, please share that Google Sheet with me, and we'll create the features to make sure you can move off of Google Sheets. And so we'll create the features so that you can move off of meta issues, because that's not what we want to do. Joyce, you said, how do you switch from Epic to top and bottoms up? And so the idea here is that we'll just have a toggle, or we're creating it right now. And so that's exactly here. So I'll just show it here. So you get to choose the start date, whether you want to use the fixed version or the inherited version, as we're calling it. And then by default, it will be the inherited version, which makes sense because when you create an epic, there's no date set. So say you create an epic and start assigning issues on it, so it'll automatically inherit. And then, but if you did want to set a manual date, you would do so, and then you would click, but by that time you can override it. So that's how you would switch, quote unquote, switch the modes. And so it's actually more granular per epic, it's actually per date per epic.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Any other questions, comments? 5, 4.
Hey, Victor.
Yes.
So it seems to me that like the most benefit teams would see, or teams of teams would see, is really just going to be unlocked when kind of across the teams people are using issues and epics and related features consistently. I was wondering if you could share anything from product or engineering in terms of what has worked well to kind of establish the consistent usage across the teams.
So you're asking like how ourselves, our process is using these features? Is that?
Or maybe like anything that has been useful in driving consistent usage across
Okay.
many people across many teams.
Yeah, and I can probably guess why you're asking that. As a scaling organization at GitLab, and we're growing. So I'm missing a product team call right now, and they're probably arguing about some new process or change or something that they want to make things better. And so yes, we have struggles and stuff like that with getting things consistent. So I can share some things with you. For example, label usage is something that we use a lot with. And the reason we use labels is we can always use, because labels are so versatile and so useful, it's always the first thing we go to because we haven't created a new native feature to support that particular process yet. And so, for example, we want to track missed deliverables within our organization as an OKR for the engineering team. And so the way we're going to do that is we're going to have a bot that's going to crawl all the issues and then look at after the code freeze, if you missed a deliverable, put a label on it, and then maybe put 2, 3 labels on it. And so we can track those labels over time, and we can say, 11.3, X% was missed and stuff like that. So that's an example where we need a consistent process, and we're trying to use automation to make it easier as well as consistent, because bots don't make mistakes in terms of consistency. And because the feature that we're building will take maybe 3 more, 4 more months. And so the feature we're going to build is similar to what I showed earlier with the analytics. We would actually, the latest idea I have is that we're actually going to use the burn down chart, and you're going to filter the burn down chart on missed deliverables. The burn down chart is going to be historically accurate. And so you can look at the burn down chart and see how many things were planned at the beginning and how many things were shipped at the end, and you get a number. So that's the feature that's going to solve that problem for GitLab, but that's the feature that is not going to be shipped for like at least maybe 3, 4 months. So how do we solve that in the interim? We do quote unquote hacks around the thing like that. And another example is like using epics and issues ourselves. And then the example Agnes had, or the question Agnes had with, should epics replace meta issues? And maybe we're doing that. I would say 80% of the time folks are not using meta issues anymore and using epics, but still that's not always 100% of the case. So we are having some, and so how we quote unquote solve the consistency issue is that we standardize, we have a meeting, we have a handbook update, probably same as the marketing team, I would imagine.
Makes sense. Thanks, Victor.
Definitely. So yeah, again, I encourage everybody to just ping the product channel, even better, ping myself in an issue, mention me in an issue, mention me in a product channel if you have any ideas, and we'll go from there. And I'll stop sharing my screen and give the mic to somebody else, and I will see everybody next time.
Thanks, Victor, for presenting.
Definitely. Thanks, Sid.